You wake up in the pitch black. Before your eyes adjust, you see it, a looming shape standing in the corner of your bedroom. Instantly, you freeze. Adrenaline floods your system. Your heart hammers against your ribs. Your hand hits the switch, and you realize it's just a winter jacket over a chair. But think about the mechanics of what just happened. Your body reacted violently to a threat before your conscious mind even recognized the object was entirely harmless. You didn't decide to be terrified. That physical reaction occurred completely independent of your conscious will. Fear is an involuntary biological override. Clinically speaking, fear is a direct, immediate reaction to a clear, present, and identifiable danger. That makes it distinctly different from anxiety, which is a vague apprehension or persistent worry about a threat that might not actually exist. To truly understand the architecture of our brains, we have to set aside the slow burn of anxiety. We need to isolate and examine that explosive, split-second physiological reaction of pure fear. If we look at a map of the brain's wiring, we can see exactly how this works. In the milliseconds after you spot a potential threat, the raw visual data first hits the thalamus, which acts as the brain's central routing station. Inside the thalamus, that data hits a fork in the road, splitting into two distinct pathways. The first is the slow road, traveling up to the neocortex, the rational, thinking part of your brain, processing logic and context. The second pathway is the fast road. It shoots straight down to the amygdala, your emotional center. And because this route is shorter, the amygdala processes the information milliseconds faster than the neocortex. The moment the signal arrives, the amygdala rapidly cross-references the visual data with the hippocampus, your memory center. It scans for a match against ancient, hardwired survival files, a concept psychologists call evolutionary preparedness. Because of this evolutionary software, humans are predisposed to learn fear responses to ancestral threats, like snakes or spiders, far faster than we learn to fear modern dangers, like electrical outlets or cars. Survival requires prioritizing speed over accuracy. The brain forces your body into a full emergency state, based entirely on that ancient programming, long before your rational mind has a chance to weigh in. If the amygdala detects a match, it immediately pulls the alarm. It triggers the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal system, to hijack your bodily functions before the rational brain can intervene. The physical reality of this hijack hits all at once. Adrenaline floods your bloodstream, your heart rate spikes to pump more oxygen, and your pupils dilate to absorb maximum light. At the same time, your brain temporarily shuts down non-essential biological functions, like digestion and your immune system, redirecting all available energy straight to your major muscle groups. To prove this fight-or-flight response is a physical, hardwired circuit, we can look at what happens when the hardware is missing. Consider the clinical case of patient SM, a woman with rare bilateral damage to her amygdala. SM exhibits highly specific behavioral anomalies. When presented with typically terrifying animals, like snakes or tarantulas, she handles them with absolutely no fear. Researchers even had her walk through notoriously frightening environments, like the Waverly Hills Sanitarium haunted attraction. The environment failed to trigger any physiological panic response. She felt only curiosity. Patient SN demonstrates that the fight-or-flight response is an involuntary biological mandate. Without the physical hardware of the amygdala, humans are functionally blind to danger. How is a false alarm resolved? That slow signal completes its processing in the neocortex. Your rational brain analyzes the context, realizing it's just a jacket. It sends an all-clear signal down to the amygdala, halting the HPA axis and extinguishing the panic response. But what happens when this predictive model breaks down and the all-clear signal fails? This failure to process safety can result in severe psychological trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder. This brings up a strange paradox. If the fear circuit is such an exhausting survival mechanism, why do we intentionally seek out scary entertainment? It all comes down to context. When your rational brain knows an environment is perfectly safe, the sudden flood of dopamine and adrenaline triggered by your amygdala is interpreted by the body as a euphoric natural high. We actively hack our evolutionary glitches. We build theme parks to trigger this biological override, letting us experience the intense physical rush of survival without any of the actual danger. Fear is a highly evolved, life-saving piece of biological machinery. So the next time you jump at a shadow in the dark, you shouldn't feel embarrassed. You should just thank your amygdala for doing its job perfectly.